Tayo ngayon ay nasa week 3 na ng ating quarter 2 mathematics for grade 6 na may pamagat, percentage, rate, and the base. Handa na ba kayong matuto? Percent is the ratio that compares a number to 100. You can write percent as a ratio with a denominator of 100. You can use symbol which is called the percent sign. After going through this lesson, you are expected to find the percentage, rate, and base or percent in a given problem, as well as to solve routine and non-routine problems involving percentage, rate, and base. Robin's daily allowance is 40 pesos. He spends 12 pesos for snacks. This is 30% of his daily allowance. In the situation given above, we can say that 30% of 40 pesos is 12 pesos. In this case, you can now easily identify which is the percentage, the rate, or the base. We let P the percentage, R be the rate, and B the base. 12 pesos is percentage. It is the number or the amount that represents. Ang percentage ay bahagi lang ng base o ng kabuuan. 30% is the rate. It is the number compared to 100. It is usually has either a percent sign or the word percent with it. 40 pesos is the base. It is the number that represents the whole or the entire amount. The Tatian's triangle can help you remember the three formulas. To find percentage, cover P since R and B are next to each other. It means multiplication. Whereas percentage equals rate times base. To find the base, cover the B since P is over R. It means division. Rate equals percentage divided by base. And to find rate, cover R since P is over B. It means division. Base equals percentage divided by rate. Finding the percentage. Paano nga ba pagkuha ng percentage? Halimbawa, find 75% of 60. Using the decimal, 75% times 60 equals n. So what is n? So change the rate to decimal. 75%, that is 0.75 or 75 hundredths times 60 equals 45. So N is 45. Next is using a proportion. Alam natin na ang 75% ay katumbas ng 75 hundredths in fraction. So, 75 is to 100 equals N is to 60. Bakit N is to 60? Kasi ang N ay nagre-represent ng percentage at ang 60 ay ang base. At ang percentage ay bahagi lamang ng base. So, i-multiply 100 times N, that is 100N, equals 75 times 60, that is 4,500. Then, i-divide natin ito pareho sa 100. 100N divided by 100 equals N. 4,500 divided by 100, that is 45. Next is using formula. Yung using the decimal and using a proportion, yan ay galing sa ating module. Then, idinagdag ko itong using formula. Ito ang formula. Percentage equals rate times base. So, i-multiply lang pala natin ang rate and base. Percentage equals P is for percentage and R for rate. That is 75%. Times base, and 60 is the base. Alam natin ang 75% in decimal, that is 0.75 or 75 hundredths. So 75%, that is 0.75 or 75 hundredths, times 60, that is 45. So, percentage equals 45. Example 2 for finding the percentage. There are 250 pupils in a school. If 20% of them are Boy Scouts, how many Boy Scouts does the school have? So, ang rate is 20%, base is 250, and hahanapin natin ang percentage. Again, using the decimal, 20% of 250 equals N, and that is 20% times 250 equals N. Change the rate to decimal. 20%, that is 0.20 or 20 hundredths, times 250, and that is 50. N is 50. Using a proportion, alam natin ang 20% ay katumbas ng 20 over 100 or 20 hundredths. So, 20 is to 100 equals N is to 250. I-multiply ang 100 times N, that is 100N, equals 20 times 250, that is 5,000. Then, i-divide natin pareho sa 100. 100N divided by 100 equals N. 5,000 divided by 100 equals 50. So, N is equal to 50. Again, using formula, percentage equals rate times base. Rate is 20% times base, which is 250. Change natin ang rate. Magiging decimal. Yan ay 20 hundredths or 0.20 times 250 equals 50. Therefore, 50 Boy Scouts ang ating sagot. Example for finding the rate. 45 is what percent of 75? Isipin natin, n percent of 75 is 45. N percent, ito yung rate. 75 is the base and 45 is the percentage. Karagdagang kaalaman, ang of ay sumisimbolo ng multiplication at ang is ay equal. Solution using the fraction. N percent of 75 equals 45. N over 100, change natin sa fraction form, times 75 equals 45. N times 75 over 100 equals 75n over 100 equals 45. Then 75n equals 45 times 100. Yung 100 na denominator na i-transfer natin sa kabilang side at ito ay naging multiplication instead na division. Then 75n equals 45 times 100 is 4,500. Then, dinivide natin ito sa parehong 75. Then, 4,500 divided by 75 equals 60. In percent, that is 60%. In using proportion, n percent of 75 equals 45. N is to 100 equals 45 over 75 or 45 is to 75. Change natin sa column form. Pwede rin naman ang fraction form. Sa column form, n is to 100 equals 45 is to 75. Multiply ang n times 75. That is 75n. And 100 times 45, and that is 4,500. Then, divided by 75 pareho. Then, 75n divided by 75 equals n. And 4,500 divided by 75 equals 60 or 60%. Using formula, alam natin, dinagdag natin ito at mas madaling gamitin. The formula is rate equals percentage divided by base. Substitution, percentage is 45 and the base is 75. Then 45 divided by 75 equals 60 hundreds or 0.60. Pag na-change natin ng 60 hundreds or 0.60 sa percent, that is 60%. Example para sa finding the base. In Mr. Laso's math class, 8 pupils got high scores on the test. If this is 20% of the total number of pupils in the class, how many pupils does he have in all? So, dito sa problem na to, hinahanap natin ang base o ang kabuuan. Kabuuang bilang ng mga bata sa klase ni Ginoong Laso. 20% is the rate, 8 is the percentage, and base is missing. Para sa solution, using the decimal, 20% of n equals 8. 20% in decimal is 20 hundreds times n equals 8. So, 20 hundreds times n equals 20 hundreds n equals 8. Then, i-divide natin ito pareho sa 20 hundreds. Then, N is 40. Using a proportion, pwede natin gamitin dito ang column form or fraction form. So this time, gamitin natin ang column form. 20 is to 100 equals 8 is to n. So hinahanap pa rin natin dito ang n, gamit lang ang proportion. So i-multiply 20 times n and 100 times 8. 20 times n equals 20n and 100 times 8 is 800. Then, pareho natin itong i-divide sa 20. So, 20n divided by 20 equals n and 800 divided by 20 equals 40. The value of n is 40. Yung using the decimal and using a proportion ay makikita natin sa ating module. So this time, gamitin naman natin at idagdag natin ang using formula. Ang formula for finding the base is B equals P over R. So what is the value of P? P is 8 and R or rate, this is 20%. Then 8 divided by 20% or 20 hundredths in decimal equals 40. So base is 40. Therefore, there are 40 pupils. Example of word problem. There are 200 participants attended during mathematics seminar workshop. If 40% of these were men and rest are women, how many are women participated in the mathematics seminar workshop? To understand what is asked, the number of women participated in the seminar workshop. What are given facts? 200 participants. Of the total, 40% were male. Para sa plano, kung titingnan natin ang illustration, 200 participants, pinakikita. Then, men, there are 40% and women are 60%. If there were 40% men participants, therefore, 100% minus 40% equals 60%. So, therefore, 60% are women. You can use the formula for finding the percentage. And the formula is percentage equals rate times base. For solution, using the formula, P equals R times B, rate is 60% and the base is 200. Change to decimal form, that is 0.60 or 60 hundredths times 200, and that is 120. So there are 120 women participants. For checking, this is one way to know if your answer is correct. 40% of 200, that is 80. And that 80 are men participants. Then 60% times 200, ayan ay 120. At yun naman ang mga women participants. So 120 plus 80 equals 200. The total number of participants. Makikita rin ninyo sa ating illustration ang 80% and 60% with a total of 100% na 120 women participants. For learning task number 1, find the percentage. Write your answer in your notebook. Sagutan natin ang dalawa na makikita natin sa inyong module. For number 1, what is 20% of 160? The formula is P equals R times B. So, 20%, that is the rate, times base na 160. Ang 20%, i-change sa decimal form, and that is 20 hundreds. Times 160 equals 32. So, what is 20% of 160? That is 32. For number 2, 25% of 96 is blank. Ang ating formula, P equals R times B. The rate is 25% times base na 96. 25% change to decimal form, 25 hundreds times 96, and that is 24. So, 25% of 96 is 24. Learning task 2, find the base. Write your answer in your notebook. Sagutan natin ang number 1 and 2 na makikita sa inyong module. For number 1, 50 is 8% of what number? So, gamit ang formula, base equals percentage divided by rate. The value of P is 50 divided by rate na 8%. 50 divided by 8%, ang 8%, i-change natin sa decimal form, and that is 0.08 or 800s. 50 divided by 800s, and that is 625. So, 50 is 8% of what number? The answer is 625. For number 2, 20% of what number is 15? Ang ating formula, base equals percentage divided by rate. What is the percentage? 15 divided by rate na 20%. 15 divided by 20%, change to decimal form, and that is 0.20 or 20 hundreds. So, 15 divided by 20 hundreds, the answer is 75. 20% of what number is 15? The answer is 75. For learning task 3, find the rate. Write your answer in your notebook. 1 is what percent of 10? Ang formula natin, R equals P divided by B. Substitution, percentage is 1 and the base is 10. Wag na wag magkakapalit ang pwesto ng percentage at ng base. 1 divided by 10, the answer is 0.10 or 10 hundreds. Pag na-change sa percent form, that is 10%. 1 is what percent of 10? The answer is 10%. Number 2, 10 is what percent of 20? Ang formula, rate equals percentage divided by base. What is the percentage? 10. And the base is 20. Tulad ng dati, huwag magkakapalit ang pwesto ng percentage at ng base. 10 divided by 20, the answer is 0.50 or 50 hundreds. Pag na-change ang 50 hundreds sa percent, and that is 50%. So, 10 is what percent of 20? The answer is 50%. For learning task 4, answer the following. Show your solution using decimal and proportion methods. Sagutan natin ang number 1 problem. In survey, the barangay had a certain number of families and 60% of them are identified and belong to the poor or marginalized sector. If the total families is 150, how many families are belong to the poor sector? Itong problem na to ay nagpapakita na ito ay example ng percentage problem. So, para makuha natin ang sagot, using the decimal, 60% of 150 equals n. What is n? So, 60% change natin sa decimal form and that is 60 hundreds times 150 equals 90. So, n is 90. Using a proportion, 60 is to 100 equals n is to 150. 100 times n, that is 100n. 60 times 150, that is 9,000. Then, i-divide natin ito sa parehong 100. 100n divided by 100 equals n. 9,000 divided by 100 equals 90. In using formula, karagdagan, P equals R times B. Rate is equal to 60% and the base is 150. I-change natin ang 60% sa decimal form, that is 0.60 or 60 hundreds times 150 and that is 90. So, tanong na how many families are belong to the poor sector? The answer is 90 families. Ating tandaan, percentage is the amount that represents a part of a whole. To find the percentage of a number, you can change it to decimal or fraction and then multiply it by the given number or multiply the percent or rate by the given number or base. And that is percentage equals rate times base. Base is the number that represents the whole or entire amount. In finding the base, just divide the percentage by the rate. And that is base equals percentage divided by rate. Rate is the number compared to 100. Usually, it has either with a percent sign or the word percent with it. To find the percent or rate, divide the percentage by the given number or base. Or rewrite the number as fraction, then change the denominator to 100. Simplify and write the percent symbol, and that is rate equals percentage divided by base. Maraming salamat. Alam kong punong-puno kayo ng kaalaman ngayon sa ating topic na to. Ating ibahagi, mag-comment, at mag-like sa ating video. At sa mga hindi pa nakakapag-subscribe, huwag kakalimutan mag-subscribe para updated tayo sa mga darating pang mga bagong videos. Paalam!